Well, welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, author, best-selling author, and every single day I help others unlock potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on the show, we have another fascinating guest. On the show, we interview celebrities, entrepreneurs, business CEOs, athletes, and artists to find out their path to success, how they're able to overcome challenges and adversity, and of course, their keys to success. And today's guest is definitely someone who could shine some light into that because she comes highly, highly recommended. I mean, I've seen her out on stage, I've seen her at events, I've seen her at conferences and online. Every time she's there, people gravitate to her because of her energy, her expertise, and her passion for helping others, adding value, and connecting people towards success. So always joy to speak with people like that, and I'm very, very excited today for having her here. She is a person who's world-renowned for her buy and build strategies. She implements transformational changes towards their companies to guide entrepreneurs towards their financial goals. She delivers exceptional ROIs, whether it's optimizing profitability or streamlining operations. She empowers owners to achieve financial success. So please welcome accomplished entrepreneur and financial leader, Ms. Holli Moeini.
Wow, Fong, thank you for having me on the Peak Potential Success Show. I'm so excited to be here. And that was a crazy, great introduction. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for being here. It's always a joy to speak to people who is so accomplished in what they do and is helping so many people achieve their success as well. But before we get to all that great stuff, we need to know your origin story. How did you become this amazing, accomplished entrepreneur who's helping changing the world right now?
I love that, Fong. Great question. So I am the first generation college grad in my family. And so I came from humble beginnings, and I always knew, I think it started back in my house when we had all these kids and only one bathroom. I thought, I've got to have a lot of bathrooms. Like, what job can get me a lot of bathrooms? So that probably was my original motivator. But I went to college and graduated in what I thought would be a wonderful way to get a lot of bathrooms. And that was through accounting and CPA. And so my background really started in an accounting firm. So I worked for a very large firm and for about 10 years. And then, and I would say I did auditing. And when you do auditing, you get thrown out into all different kinds of businesses. You don't know anything about them. You research it. And what you do is very quickly, you have to figure out where the financial issues are. And so I did that for about 10 years. So I'd land in a company and figure it out, and you're on a budget and a time crunch, and there's nowhere in the world from an accounting standpoint that you can get that kind of background. So I always tell the accounting students, so if you're listening out there, there's nowhere better than a CPA firm, a large CPA firm where you can go and see the breadth of business out there and get a little taste of each one of them. And then I went from the accounting world, I went to work for my client. We sold that company, and then I started my executive career where I did a lot of scaling. And then part of our growth strategy was actually buying and building companies. So we did many acquisitions, and I was always involved from the very, very beginning. And I learned that. And now, of course, I'm helping other businesses achieve financial success. I mean, it's my passion to help everybody succeed in their business. And if you can't afford somebody that has a lot of experience, you can come and hire me because I do fractional or part-time or project work to help you achieve your goals.
That is awesome. I find that funny. Your like the peak of the success is where, hey, wait, I need lots of bathrooms. I know somebody who goes, you know what, I'm gonna make it when I have a fridge that dispenses water. That's all
Right.
I want.
Right. It's so great. Yeah, I know. It's funny. Back then, you think about that, and I had all those bathrooms a long time ago, and it's like, all right, once you get them, it's like, all right, well, on to the next thing.
For yourself, like you work for big companies and then you work for the client, helping them build their business, selling that. At what point did you go, you know what? I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going to start doing it for other people. I'm going to open my own business, become my own entrepreneur. And how was that process like for you?
Well, that started during the pandemic. And I realized that I wasn't growing and learning. One of the things that I would like to tell your audience is if you're not growing and learning and you're not uncomfortable, that is a bad thing. And so there are many times and years, and I think that that's the other thing I'd say is that I would take too long to leave. And so I had been sitting in this spot of not growing, not learning. And you can learn on your own. And I was doing that on my own, but not in the work and the business area. I wasn't getting pushed. We had achieved so many things that it was time for me to move on. So in 2020, I made the decision to move on. It was the toughest thing, and it's hard to leave a company. But for me, the most important thing is making sure, and I'm the finance person, so that's a big deal. I was the top person in the company. And so I had to make sure that they are taken care of before I leave. So that runway was a year.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I gave notice and then we worked through it. And it was a year of, making sure, because I was so embedded in the company and the success of the company, that you want to leave a legacy and you want to do it honorably. And so I'm always about that. And so I made sure that they were taken care of. But it was hard. So I'm going to say that when people say starting your own business is tough, I mean, there aren't any words to really say it even more deeper than that, but it is tough. You will go through every emotion possible. It's like I thought I had an identity, and then I'm really, it's an interesting spot to be in. You think you are this executive, and then you come out and you're like, oh, I'm really nobody, and I need to learn more. And and so it's an interesting trajectory, but well worth it. And so every day you're learning and every day you're pushing yourself. And it's really where I prefer to be.
When you're talking about, oh, I'm not learning anymore. You know what? I'm gonna jump out and cut the cord and become an entrepreneur. That's like completely the opposite. Opposite. You're learning a whole great deal. And so for yourself, was it kind of like cutting the cord and go, you know what? I'm gonna go right into it? Because, or did you have some kind of like I know you had a plan in place for your client before you left, but how about a plan for yourself? What did you do to prep yourself for that?
Okay, Fong, like, listen, nobody should do what I did, which was I just thought I'd be fine. And so I did not plan. So I didn't plan. I didn't have a coach. So I really believe in coaching and somebody who's been there and done that to help you. I had none of that. And I spent about, oh, I don't know, up to a year of really trying to figure out what am I doing and where is my path and where is my value. And so I really struggled with that for quite a while. I would not tell anybody to do that. The runway's already hard and long and a process. And so I would say plan and absolutely. And honestly, I could help you plan because I did such a terrible job. I've learned the hard lesson. Plan. I think coaching is amazing. I think coaching is amazing for whatever stage you're in. I think we need help. And when I was growing up through the ranks, the only time you ever got a coach was when you had performance issues. And so I never had a coach. And I thought, yay, I mean, honestly, I thought that, Fong, yay, I've never had a coach. I'm so good. Well, actually, that's terrible. All right. So it's the opposite way it should be. But that was the culture I grew up in. And now I have a completely different understanding. I think we need support in all forms, and a coach to cheer us on who's been there, who's done that, is so helpful. So that's what I would say. So yes, there wasn't a lot of thought into that. And I told you that I have a podcast also that I was doing on the side, and it's not a business podcast, but it's really a podcast about achieving your own personal growth and success personally. And so it's not business oriented, it's more medical oriented. But so I was doing that and dabbling in that. And that's when I was saying that it's so important, the work that you do and the content that you bring out. It's hard work, and I honor and admire it because I did it before. So I did some of that, and then finally found myself in the space where I think I can make the most amount of difference. I'm passionate about it. I love meeting people. I love seeing people's businesses and then helping them achieve their goals is really important. When you look at, small businesses, most of them fail, and most of them don't make it to $1 million in revenue. And that's really something that I can help achieve. And then when you're bigger, scaling, and then of course the acquisitions, buying and building.
Wow, there's so many questions that came out of that. And the first thing I want to note is, first of all, you spent another year working with your company before you left, helping them. And that really speaks volume about who you are because one, they trust you to be still there for another year without worrying about, oh, well, she's going to be gone anyway. She's not going to care and all that kind of stuff. But you were there helping them towards success. Now, during that year of time, was there any part of that where you go, you know what, this really isn't that bad, that you may have went back and forth on the idea of leaving?
It's interesting. No, I never wavered because I knew that there's something bigger and better that I needed to do and that I wasn't growing, but I do love that the partnership we had that final year. And basically I was, the partner to the CEO. We were Batman and Robin and everything. And we had acquisitions going on. We had valuations. We had grown the stock over 600% in a short period of time by streamlining the company and by the acquisitions. And so but we were done, and he was wrapping up in his CEO career, and I didn't want to go for the CEO. Honestly, I felt like I already had been doing that with him, and I wanted to do something different. So I never wavered. I think when you know. And even though it's hard, that there's some peace inside of you. So that whole year, that wasn't all rainbow and sunshine, but I again, like I think having a legacy, making sure the company's in the best hands and leaving honorably and is always good. So I love the company, I love the people. So it was good. But yeah, I didn't waver. No, I think you know.
That is incredible. So that's scary thing number one. Number two scary thing you to mention was the fact that, so first of all, I thought you had at least an idea of what you're going to do. But you kind of diverged that no, you had no idea. You were searching for it after you left the company. So for so aside from I guess having that idea, if not having that idea or not, one of the things that people should maybe plan for is, hey, maybe have an X amount of funds that would keep you going so that you could search for that idea. So for yourself, what would you recommend people have if they were going to cut the cord, not have an idea yet? How much of that time should they plan for financially? And secondly, how did you find that, oh, this is what I really want to do?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, never not plan. And that's a double negative there. Okay. You must plan. Let's put it that way. You must plan. So I say, don't do that. So you must plan and have a financial strategy. So I'd say at least a year of savings. I mean, honestly, it's going to take you at least that long to start making money. I was very fortunate that I was able to negotiate a package. So I had a package. I'm in charge of my family. So it wasn't like, oh, I can just retire, and I also worked for an employee-owned company at that time. And so it's not like we are getting extremely wealthy. Most of it goes into all of it goes into our retirement plan from a stock standpoint. And so I had to plan for that. And I always thought, well, I could go back to corporate. If I don't find what I'm doing, I can just go get a job. That's easy. And something happened, a switch flipped in my mind, and I thought, I can never go back to corporate. This is so great being on my own and helping people. And so yes, don't plan. Have enough runway with money, at least a year, I think, and move forward with confidence. So for me, finding myself, how did I find myself? Well, that was part of the painful process, right? It was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be a podcast star. Okay, so there's so many podcasts out there. I'm not going to make my money that way. And so I started going to listening to Adam Coffey, and Adam Coffey is he's a CEO guru and has $2.6 billion worth of exits. And I started listening to him and I thought, wow, I'm going to have some coaching. So I got some coaching. He pivoted me in a major way. I always knew I could, and I was doing some fractional CFO work, helping businesses whether it's a system implementation gone bad that you need help with. And I've done all of that, but I didn't really realize that, oh, I could really help people with the buy and build. And it's a skill set that a lot of people don't have. And so Adam was like, I believe in you, you can do this, and kind of pivoted me to what I'm doing right now.
Now, you mentioned fractional a couple times.
Yeah.
For people who don't totally understand what fractional means, how does that work?
Fractional is just part-time or project work. And so you can hire me on a short-term basis to come help you with whatever situation you have going on in your company. So whether you're a startup and you really, you got to get your books in order. That's the reason why most businesses fail, is because they do not have proper finance. They don't know their numbers. And so setting up those books, I can help get that set up for you, all the way to helping you get out of the way so you can grow. That's usually the problem. And then also, if you have a growth strategy, buying and building and or selling. So I was always the buyer, so I know what I'm looking for as a seller and can help you get your books in order. And that is the thing, is most entrepreneurs, when they get to that state where they think, I'm sick of this, I want to sell, or I'm tired, or whatever it is, and then they just decide, that's the worst possible time to decide. You got to plan for it. Again, don't be like me, lack of planning, okay, personally, and plan for that so that you can get the maximum dollars at exit.
Mhm. I find it funny that I've interviewed a lot of successful people, and a lot of them go through this process where, oh, I didn't plan, but I worked really hard. I knew I needed to do this, and they became very, very successful. Similar to yourself. Is it that part where they didn't plan, or that jumping into the fire kind of mentality? Maybe it's that aspect of these people that allows them to succeed as much as they do. Do you agree with that? Or if you actually planned, do you think you would get to where you are today?
Well, that is an interesting question, Fong, because I do think like the jumping into the fire is an extremely valuable thing, because you're going to survive. I mean, we're all successful in our career. Before we jumped, we were already successful. So I always think of myself as, I used to call myself scrappy. And so I was like, I'm I'm gonna get in there and I'll figure it out. I'm scrappy, like nobody's scrappier than me. And I think that helps you when you jump in the fire to be scrappy, like I'm back in it, but I do think you can still have that fire going. Maybe it's not burning the house down, okay, but the fire is still there even if you plan a little. So I don't want, it's an interesting question you raise, because I'm like, I don't want to take away from the planning. I think there's always a fire there, that we must jump into, and the fire is where you learn.
Mhm.
And, you talk about adversity a lot, and it's like, you know, that is adversity right there. If we don't have adversity, I mean, we're not learning. And so adversity is a gift. And that fire is the gift of adversity. And when we want to be successful, we're going to figure it out. We're going to be scrappy and figure it out. And some get, like, when you're learning in this adversity, some people get a PhD, in adversity. Some people only get a high school degree. Okay, but I think those are the people that are comfortable, and there's nothing wrong with being comfortable and loving what you do. I love that too. Not everybody's designed for that, and not everybody's designed for entrepreneurship, and that's okay. Everybody's great where they're at, and but for me, that's I like the fire.
Mhm. Now, for adversity, for yourself, you're able to have that mental toughness, the scrappiness to get yourself over yourself so that you can keep on going. How about the people around you? Was everybody that's like, yeah, you can do it, no problem? Or was there anybody out there that says, hey, you know what, you got a great thing going. Why don't you just stick with it? What did you talk to those people
Everybody
about?
think, yes, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Everybody thought I was insane because I was making a fantastic living, and I was next in line for CEO. And I, you know, I I think it's this, Fong. I didn't tell people that I thought weren't going to support me
Yes.
because
So-
I really think I mean, honestly, I'm like, how do I say this? This is why I'm like, how do I say this? I don't tell people. And so, for example, my mother still didn't know. She's 96. Okay, but she still doesn't know. She thinks I'm back at the same company because I really believe in surrounding yourself with people who believe in you. And so the most beautiful thing is that my children who depend on me financially, they were like, we always believe in you. They have full confidence. So I didn't have any problem telling them, the people that are closest to me. But there's a lot of people I don't tell, I don't talk about it because they're not supportive. And I think energy is important, and having people around you that are not negative in every way, including your potential, is really, really vitally important for your mental health and just for your success story. They don't work. And so, of course, my mother, I can manage it because she's older. She doesn't know, but some of them I just didn't, I don't see as much. They're more an arm's length friends or people that I know, and I don't want anybody's worry. So
I
yeah.
could I could totally relate to that because when I first started looking into real estate, I couldn't wait to tell everybody, and then I realized that I'm getting the wrong responses, so I completely shut up. And then I just sat like when people were talking about it, I just sit there and go, I want to say something, but I can't. For them to ask you. But yeah, totally relate to that.
I
Now,
love that.
you're so good at buying, building, and then evaluating and selling. So at each stage, what would you say is the most common mistakes that people do? Let's say in the buying stage, what are people not doing right so that when they're buying it, they fail? After they buy it, what are they not doing right during the building phase that
I
causes
love
them
that.
in every
That's
single one?
I love that. Okay, so all right. So from the very beginning, when you're buying, and then I'll loop in the selling. So when you're buying, what happens is that the CEO typically doesn't add people from their team to the original conversations. So when you start, you're dating. Okay, you're having conversations. What's your company like? Are you interested in selling or merging? And they're by themselves, CEO to CEO. We didn't do that. And the reason why we didn't do that is because CEOs have a tendency, you you get which is perfect. You want them to do this. You're thinking strategy. You're getting excited about their customers. You're getting excited about their synergies. You're like, woo, out in the future, in the vision. Oh, this is amazing. And what happens is, and they don't believe they do this, but they all have um, a degree of color on their lenses because they're rose-colored glasses. So all of them get it, okay, because you're getting excited. And so what happens is when I come on board, I don't have rose-colored glasses. And so what I'm doing is I'm thinking about mitigating risk. And so when you look at why businesses don't succeed when you acquire them, so the stats are something like this, Fong: 50 to 80% of business acquisitions fail to meet the buying CEO's expectations, fail. And so it's like, okay, why? Why is that, right? So it's three things. It's culture clashes, it's integration planning, poor integration planning, and it's overestimating synergies. So in the beginning, I'm looking for where's the culture difference. You can see that when you talk to people, you can hear how they speak when we go to their own offices. That's important to see what's happening there. We look at culture. We look at what is the selling CEO not saying, because there's always a story there. What are they saying? What are they not saying? And then what do they want to do when they grow up? So I was always one of those buyers that was a lights on buyer, which means I want to hire you, Fong. I want you to come in my company. I want to hug and kiss, and I want to work together forever. That's how ours went. And so it's really important for me to match what you want to do. And a lot of sellers aren't upfront about what they want. They're like, oh, well, I could do this or this. It's like, no, what do you want? And so from those first conversations, we start looking at integration planning. we're looking at culture. And then, of course, I'm the finance person, so I'm looking at synergies, and really, are there any? Are we being too aggressive at that? And so we're starting from that standpoint. And then I'm quarterbacking the whole entire time. So I'm doing the LOI, I'm quarterbacking the actual agreements, the integration plan. Most people start at the end, Fong. So like as soon, because most acquisitions don't go through. They don't, you don't get married. And so they're like, we don't want to waste the time to integration plan when we're not going to buy the company. And so we did it the opposite. We're always thinking about what does that integration plan look like? So we're putting that time and effort in. And then after you buy, making sure all the employees are happy, having those conversations. So I've been involved in all of that from start to finish. So that's kind of how we make sure we are successful in our acquisitions, is really hit those three things hard, have a team in place. It's great that the CEO is excited. You want that. And then the other big, huge thing that happens all the time is you're so in love, you won't walk away at the altar.
Mhm.
And so, and that happened to me before. And my CEO was like, oh, I have to have this company because of XYZ reason. I'm like, they're not good, or we're not going to get a return. And so then it would be up to me to figure out, well, how do I mitigate that risk? He really wants the employees. We had a situation where he really wanted the employees. They had a very a specialty that was hard to hire. So I'm like, okay, there's value there. And then he wanted the customers. And I'm like, okay, well, there's some backlog there. We can buy those two things, not buy the company, and actually succeed. But I'll tell you, Fong, even though we did do that, I think it was one of our poorer, it wasn't a real acquisition. It was one of the poorer decisions because the owner who really wanted to sell his business was not happy about the transaction. So he comes into your organization, and I say he rained unhappiness, and it was the hardest integration we've ever done. And I understand why he's unhappy. I mean, it makes sense. He is the person that it's his baby, and it didn't wrap up how he wanted it to. And so I have a lot of compassion for him, but our organization suffered, and integration planning and suffered because of that. So anyway, I say be careful on all those fronts. And if you're a seller, you want to make sure that you're coming to the table for the right reasons and to explain them. You will find a buyer. If you want to go and leave, there's ways to mitigate that. And you'll find the right buyer for you. And, if you're a seller, don't take that call and say, yes, I'm gonna sell. Make sure you plan. And let's say you haven't planned. So I've had somebody come up to me recently saying, I didn't plan, but I want to sell. Well, no time like the present. So let's take a look at that. Look 3 years back. Make sure your accounting is in order. That's the biggest situation that is a problem. I look at the accounting. They don't know what their net income is. And then, of course, EBITDA is what we look at from a valuation standpoint, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So we look at that, but they don't know what their income is, and then their balance sheet is a mess. And if the balance sheet is a mess, your income statement is wrong. They go together. And so going back and figuring that out, and then carving off one-off things like consulting. Say you hired me to come in and help you. That's not a reoccurring thing. So you can add that back to your EBITDA, thus boosting dollar for dollar your value. So those are the things that we go back and we take a look at and make sure you've got the most amount of value there.
Awesome. And then, so from that point, then comes the building aspect. You already have it. What are people doing wrong that does not allow them to build it the way they want to build it?
Yes, I love that. So what they do wrong is not having the right people helping, not putting the right resources to integration, not having a proper financial foundation. If you're going to build, think about building a house, think about your real estate. When you're building a house, you want to make sure that well, I've never built a house before, but you have the cement down for your foundation, and then you build on that. So companies that that don't know their numbers. I mean, I can't say that enough. Companies that don't know their numbers don't have a solid foundation. And then they do start building. I see it. They start building, and then what ends up happening is you're not as profitable as you should be. And the integration, you haven't thought about the employees. Employees get upset, then you got unhappiness in your organization. And so having that foundation of having good financial numbers, making sure you're good, and then actually growing each acquisition and making sure they're integrated in your company, making sure they have people in the company that are helping them. I would always deploy a person. You'd get your own special person, Fong, if you came into my organization, that would help you through any frustrations. I would try to remove your frustrations, and make sure that you knew how to navigate our company. So you had a person that helped you navigate our company, so you didn't have to sit and be frustrated. You could focus on running your business. So that's another thing. Let people come in, focus, let them do what they did great on their own, focus on running their business.
Mhm. Now, based on what you said there, there's a lot of people management, a lot of things where you have to deal with either somebody who's really not happy about how the transition is going. You have potential employees who are scared of the potential changes that are coming. How do you manage with different types of personalities, potential conflicts, and even people who are like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Help me understand this. How do you deal with those multiple personalities that's coming into you, that's going, hey, we need to make this work?
Yeah, I that's a great question. First, I'll just foundationally before I get to me is HR is a huge partner for me. So I would make sure that each employee understood the benefits, and we would make sure if there's any difference, we would make sure that we compensated the employees coming in, so they would understand it. So we really put HR for the employees, and then the different personalities. Here's what I think about that. I think you have to meet people where they are. And they're used to running their own company, particularly the CEOs and the managers that were coming in. They're used to running their own company. So you meet them where they're at, and work with them in the way that they're used to being worked with. And what I mean by that is I was a big proponent of let them come in here and be autonomous. But that doesn't mean that they're still accountable. And so making sure they understood what their goals were really important, and working with their personalities where either they got a lot of help or they were hands off. You go do you, and then we'll meet and we'll look at your goals. So I feel like everybody's different on how they like to work. And it's particularly hard for CEOs coming in when they're used to being on their own and having to work within an environment. But I tried to create that environment that was similar to how they were on their own, but still have accountability. And that's what I did. I mean, there's no magic super sauce in people management. And sometimes the most difficult people are the most talented, quite frankly. I mean, it's just true. And so I always work to figure out how do I meet them where they're at.
Mhm. Have you found that in order for you to work well with other people, that sometimes you may or may not need to bite your tongue and just win the overall war and not the little battles?
Oh gosh, I mean, that's a gift right there, Fong. That question is a gift because yes, we all have to do that. And I've done that a lot. And um, I think it's super important to pace yourself, and not everything is meant to be won. Most times there's no winning. It's compromise.
Mhm.
It's compromise. And sometimes that compromise is biting your tongue. Oftentimes, I mean, as an executive, even forget about the buy and build. As an executive, oftentimes you are, biting your tongue. And again, you want to be impactful. So when you do speak up in a way, you want to be heard and you want to be taken seriously. And so yes, I think it's really important. I love to talk, but not when we're talking in terms of strategy and all of that. I think that everybody else should have their say, and that you pace yourself and compromise. It is about compromise, and most people will compromise. And and there's some strategy around compromising, and so anyway, that's yeah, that's what I think about that. It's people are fun and difficult, and and all those things, and we are too. We think we aren't, but we are.
So I'm very interested about your next answer here. What's your release? So let's say you've just dealt with this person who's really, really difficult, so stubborn, so arrogant, and you just, I'm not gonna say anything. You close the door, you're in your own privacy. What do you do?
Okay, I used to have a tendency to not do anything. And I think that's bad, by the way. And so I'd be like, okay, I'm fine. This is fine. It's okay. So you're going to like this, Fong. I think you're going to like this. I had this one particular tough meeting and wasn't being seen, wasn't being listened to. And I remember leaving that meeting, and this is when I learned I do this. I don't listen to this music ever, but I got in my car, I turned it up really loud. It was Led Zeppelin, The Immigrant Song. And if anybody knows what that is, it's an angry song. I think it's an angry song. And you scream on the song. I mean, like Robert Plant screamed. And so it's the only time I ever listen to it is when I'm angry. And so like I would get in the car and do this, you know, singing, which was really screaming, to release it out. But I do believe you have to let that go. And for me, talking about it was helpful. I'm not really a big angry, or, I would want to find a safe person to talk to. When you're on the top of the heap, there's nobody safe, really. That is a hard spot to be in. You got to find somebody. And I was talking to Mike Slade, who worked with Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, and he's really successful. And I'm like, what do CEOs need? And he's like, because he works with CEOs and has his own capital firm, and he's like, well, they just need somebody to talk to. And he goes, they need therapy. Okay, like, and I said, what? Okay, and he goes, yeah, that's what I give. Because most can't, they don't feel like they can vent to the board. They don't feel like they can vent. So for me, I feel the same way. I wasn't the CEO, I was the CFO, and COO. And, I really had to find people that I could vent to. So that's part of the release. So I would say absolutely punch a pillow, do whatever you have to do, but get it out somehow. Don't pen it.
Something else I could totally relate to. Yes, I turn up my music very, very loud in my car, but I do the same thing when I'm trying to get myself pumped up for a big talk or a big presentation too, which is cool.
Yeah, I love that. I probably wouldn't do the immigrant song for that one, but yeah, I love that.
Walk in the boardroom completely pissed off.
I love that. I would prepare myself for the board meeting, though. I will tell you that is something that I was very deliberate and intentional about, and would like to share. That is before any tough meeting, before any board meeting, I would center myself and really make sure I took a little mindfulness minute, or whatever that is, and I would really sit there and think, I want to serve. Let me serve in the highest good of everybody. And so when I go in, I really believe that it was like, let me park any ego, let me serve. And whether that means, and then I would say, let me serve so I can find the solution, so I can find the collaboration, so that I can serve, so that we can make the right decision. And so I had a practice of doing that every time I went into a meeting. And I do think that changes the energy of those types of situations. And so that was my little superpower I would always keep to myself. Nobody really knew I was doing it, but I always did it.
What would be your pump up song?
Oh gosh. Okay, what would that be? The Black Eyed Peas, I Got a Feeling. Okay, like that would be good. Okay.
Awesome. So you're very, very good at helping other people succeed, getting their companies to where they're supposed to be, and all that kind of stuff. But what makes you different from all the other consultants, all the other people who say they can do the same thing as what you do?
Yeah, I love that question. And I think that not only is my background really varied and diverse compared to other people, but for me, I bring a sense of, I hate to say it, okay, but it's true, fun. Okay. Fun is a differentiator. And and I bring a lot of the people side of things with me. Most finance people are black and white,
Mhm.
and I live in gray. And then I bring this people side where I will work with anybody and be able to figure out how do I bring out the best in them. And that's always at the forefront of my mind with the goal of whatever that is that we're trying to achieve. And so I think that that's sort of lost in translation with a lot of finance people with this background, is that there's the people side is huge. It's probably just as much or more as whatever goal you're trying to achieve, because people are driving that goal.
Mhm.
So I think I bring that with me.
Awesome. Now that coincides with what Hugh Hilton says, that says you have to have fun when you're doing negotiations or business or whatnot. For yourself, when you're saying you're bringing the fun, do you have a specific example or a case or a story that you can share where you made the whole thing different because you're there, it's fun, and people are engaged?
Yeah, okay, I do. Well, I just came from an event where I had to present the how to learn your financial statements. And so I love this because people think it's going to be boring. It's always after lunch, Fong. I don't know why they do that. Okay, like put me on after lunch. That makes so much sense, right? With finance, which is a boring topic. And so what I did for this is, I know learning is visual, it's auditory, it's your senses, and it's bringing ideas that don't go together. So I had everybody get up in 3D and create their own financial statement, and everybody was an expense or an income. And I mean, it was complete pandemonium. It was crazy. It was visual. And then I had a CEO that I was interviewing that he didn't know what, he didn't know. He was just everybody was volunteers. And I created this situation that was fun. Everybody's having fun and the whole audience got involved. And then I created the idea that the financial statements are like a love story, and everybody's looking at me. If I could have taken a picture of the audience, there were hundreds of people there. They were looking at me like she's batshit crazy. Okay, like I don't know if I can say that, Fong, but anyway, so they were looking at me like that, and I was like, I'm going to convince you that it is a love story. And so I put this together that the income statement can never leave the balance sheet. They must always go together because CEOs don't look at the balance sheet. And if the balance sheet is wrong, the income statement's wrong. And I said, it's an epic love story that this is the bond that cannot be broken. And so by the end of it, it was like, yes, we love the balance sheet. Yes, we understand the love story. So it's all this crazy stuff you can put together in a creative way that is fun. And so I kind of take that with me into the workplace. But, again, we have to get stuff done. So I like to have fun and tell jokes and get through it together in a fun way.
That sounds so awesome. Sounds like an upcoming book, The Epic Love Story of Balance Sheets.
Exactly. Who knew, right? Who knew?
Exactly. Cool. When it comes to like entrepreneurship, we've talked about this at the beginning all the way up to right now, how difficult entrepreneurship is. We talked about the type of mindset that you have in order for you to be successful and to be where you are today. Let's say there's somebody out there who goes, you know what, I want to try entrepreneurship. What would you recommend them do to start training their minds so that they're more scrappy, so that they're more creative, so that they're more willing to take chances? What are some things that you would recommend for them to do on a daily basis that would get them more comfortable with that?
I love that. Okay, so I would say that every morning, and I think this is good whether you're going to do this or not, but start entrepreneurship or not, I think this is always a good practice. Every morning, you set your intention that you're going to learn today, and that every morning you are going to learn. You set a goal, one or two things that you are going to research, different things that you want to be involved in. You are going to, I would also set an intention how I want to feel that day and what I want to achieve. And then by the end of the day, I would reflect on what did I do? how did I show up? And you don't ever make yourself wrong for not maybe learning something that day or not achieving your desired state. Like, I want to be happy today. I want to learn. I want to serve, whatever it is. You reflect on that. And through this process of reflecting and setting intentions, that will propel you forward. It's a mindset. And entrepreneurship success is a mindset. And so you're training your brain to be successful. So every day you want to feel successful, you get up and feel successful. Set the mindset, set goals on what you want to learn. And at the end of the day, go and reevaluate that. And of course, please plan a little bit. That's what I would say.
Awesome. All right, you're back on the world stage. You have a few minutes to share one message that you want everybody to remember Holly for. What would that be?
Oh, I love that. What message? So I believe that I'd like to be known for helping businesses understand how important it is to know your numbers to be successful and to put that in the forefront. I'd like to be known for being innovative and creative and helping you solve your hardest problems and guide you to your financial success and exit.
Nicely done. All right, now before I let you go, this time has gone by very, very fast. I know
Yeah.
you got businesses to buy, businesses to build, so all that great stuff. I got five quick questions for you before you go. Answer them as fast as you can.
Okay.
First question, you're stranded on the deserted island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence.
Okay. What? I don't know. Okay. One food. Coffee.
Coffee?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Well, you only gave me one. Does that count? Like, it's a liquid, but I can't live without it.
That's fine. We'll keep that going. Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey, Holly, we love your story. Such an inspiration. Who would you cast to play you in your biopic?"
Oh, these are hard questions, Fong. I would pick, I would pick, oh, I know. I'll pick Elizabeth Hurley. She always has like a beautiful British accent and she's gorgeous and a businesswoman.
Perfect. She shows up at your door and goes, "Hey, Holly, I got casted. Let's have some fun. Take me out." What would be an amazing night out with Holly?
Oh gosh. Oh, Fong, I am boring. Okay, so this is really, really tough. Okay, so amazing night out with me. Well, honestly, I prefer to do something more physical. Like, let's go to hot yoga and then have some tea afterwards. Let's go skiing together and then have a Bloody Mary at the bar afterwards, or I don't know. Let's go for a 7 mile walk and talk about life and success. Okay, these are the things I like to do. I'm
Perfect.
not fast at any of this. I fail at this. Okay, Fong. I think I'm failing.
All right, it's all good. All right. So then at by about 5, 6 o'clock ish, she's like, "Oh, I'm hungry." And then you go, "You know what? I'm gonna cook you something really, really special. What can you whip up?"
Oh, okay. So I will whip up a filet mignon and I'm going to do a little truffle sauce on it. And then I will, okay, like, I'm all about the vegetables. I'm going to make some Brussels sprouts or some asparagus and a nice glass of wine.
Be nice. All right. By the end of all these episodes, I'm gonna have like a full cookbook from all everybody I've asked.
You're the best.
Number from 1 to 5.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. So if you had to compare success to essential oils,
Oh,
how is success like essential oils?
well, this is a tough one. Okay, so essential oils actually can help you be successful. And so they are an aid in helping you be successful because their essence is mysterious, and I'm making stuff up now. Okay. Their essence is mysterious, and success is Well, success, it's like you want success and then you have it, then you want the next success. And that's like essential oils, because you have a little essential oil, then you want to try another essential oil, and then it aids in your success because it's mysterious. There you go, Fong.
Very well done. So that's how success is like essential oils. Thank you very much for all your great stories, all your great tips. Any final words from you?
No, I want to thank you, Fong. Thank you for such a great interview, and thank you for all the work that you do putting out this amazing content for everyone to listen to for free. And I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for having me on your show.
Hey, pleasure's all mine. Thank you very much. It was a lot of fun and much appreciated. So thank you very much for being here. What's the best way for people to reach out to you, to get your insight, to help have you work for them and whatnot?
I love that. Come find me on my website, hollimoeini.com, and HOLLIMOEINI .com, and you can schedule a 15-minute free session with me. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me, or send me an email, one of the two.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you very much. She's Holly. My name is Fong Chuan. Until next time, today is the day to lock your peak potential. We'll see you later.